When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So, finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing toward that big business goal.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast for online business owners. They were so good, we always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content, anyways. And that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeleine Digan, and this is
#managed. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of #managed. Hey, Madeleine. How's it going?
Hello, it's going good. I'm excited to dive into this week because I have a fun story to share with you and our audience before we dive into just the podcast, but also our weekend plans. So I'm going to be filming content this Saturday at Sarah Cameron's house, aka like Sarah Cameron from Outer Banks. And I'm excited to take everybody along the ride with me on that one. This came out of nowhere, but this makeup artist reached out to me and she was like, they had a social media person who, one of the packages that they offer, they have a social media person who will come and take behind the scenes content for the bride of like getting ready. And when she told me where it was, I was just like, my mouth was to the floor, obviously, because again, if you guys know me, huge Outer Banks fan. Brendan would tell you that's why we moved to Charleston. It's not, but yes. Was there some factor in it? Yes. So I'm pumped. I'm so excited.
Yeah, no, that's so cool. And I'm so excited to ask you next week. So, how was your weekend?
Yes. Okay. So my weekend, it was good. Easter. So Brendan and I stayed here in Charleston. We didn't do anything too exciting. I did make strawberry basil margaritas that
Ooh.
I'll put in the newsletter. Um, it was more heavy on the strawberry than the basil. I need to perfect the recipe though, which I plan on perfecting this summer. Um, but then, also March Madness. Brennan's Purdue Boilermakers are in the Final Four, so that's exciting in the Digan household. Yeah. How was your weekend?
Yeah, it was good. Easter was good. Ryan and I did Easter together and we didn't travel anywhere, so we stayed in Connecticut and it was a little bit warmer than it has been, like high 50s, low 60s, nothing crazy. We're creeping on spring, but it's not quite here yet and it's driving me a little crazy if I'm being 100% real with you guys. I'm a Florida girl and I'm like, I need heat and I need humidity and I need to be sweating when I walk outside. And I'm not quite at that point yet, but it was a little bit warmer. So we did a lot of like outdoor like walks with Winston and it was just great to have fresh air and just feel the sun on your skin. Don't take things for granted, guys, especially like the sun. But no, it was fun. We didn't do much for Easter, just, again, spent time outside, made like a small little like dinner and it was great. It's funny that you said strawberry basil margaritas even though this is like different but I guess kind of same. I didn't actually make it because I think I cooked way too much food for just two people. Like I made way more for dinner than we typically eat for dinner. So we just had so much food, but I did get strawberry shortcake, which is my favorite dessert to make
Ooh.
because one, it's so easy and like, the strawberries looked so good at the store, so I haven't made it yet, so I can't really say that that's what I did this weekend, but I was inspired by strawberries, so, but I do need to make it, before this weekend because big things are happening, and I'm leaving, I'm doing a little traveling, guys, so
I mean, should where are you traveling to, Jessica?
yeah, so I'm actually headed down to Charleston, which is really exciting,
What?
and will you be around, Madeline?
I yeah, I think I am.
I think we should meet up.
We for sure. 7 years. It's been 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, we should do that.
Yeah, we should definitely catch up, maybe grab a drink or
Yeah.
something. No, but guys, if you're listening to this episode that's out on Monday, soon reuniting or uniting for the first time because again,
Yeah.
it's been 7 years and we haven't met our it's just crazy, like, I feel like, you know someone for so long and but you don't really, like, know them, if that makes
Mhm.
sense, so
Yeah.
I think it'll be fun. So we have a lot of fun things planned for a couple of days together, and we'll be sharing tons of behind the scenes, and excited to bring you guys along on that. So we'll share the first things on the social club newsletter. So be sure to subscribe. You can go to hashtagmanage.com, go to the show notes of this episode, and subscribe. But we have some really fun things planned. We've been planning this for a while. So it's not just a spur of the moment kind of thing. And yeah, I think it's like, dare I say we're stepping into like a new era of the podcast? I mean, I know we're like in April, but I don't know. It feels like a new
No.
era is coming.
No, it for sure does. Like, the chokehold that I think we are gonna have you all in, like, that's, like, my new favorite, like, little Gen Z slang.
Mhm.
It makes me laugh. It honestly makes me laugh. But, like, the chokehold, you guys are going to freak, in my opinion. If you don't, okay, but I think you will.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be so fun. So it's gonna be a mix of podcasting, all the content creation because we're social media managers after all. A lot of Charleston fun and yeah, it's going to be fun. So we're going to take some pretty cool content. We're going to live podcast together, which will be so fun because typically we are, hundreds and hundreds of miles away from each other recording separately. So it'll be really cool to like live podcast. I wonder if that's going to bring like a new dynamic to the show. I mean, I think it's just going to make it like I don't know, it's gonna be more exciting. Since it's live and we can like live react to different things that we're saying and things, and I don't know. I think it'll be fun.
Same. No, I've been looking forward to this for a long time. Like Jessica said, we've been planning this for a while now. And again, if you're in the social club or subscribe to the social club, you obviously have heard a lot of this information already. Um, but yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's gonna be so fun. There's like a million and one things that I just want to like blurt out right now and
I
share
know,
what we're
same, no,
doing. But I'm like,
same.
okay, keep something a secret. I'm terrible at secrets, but no, it'll be fun. So yeah, again, we'll take you guys along on the ride. We'll of course share on stories like while things are happening. We're gonna have a lot of really fun content for the newsletter, some fun things for that. And yeah, there's gonna be some new things too. But I'm gonna leave it at that. Should
Yes.
we dive into this week's water cooler?
Yes. Okay, this week. Hi ladies, need a bit of help this need a help need a bit of help with this. A company just asked me about exclusivity. They said they wouldn't want me working with other solar energy companies, and he offered a longer commitment to maintain the exclusivity. How do you usually deal with this? Never got asked this question before. I'll
Yeah.
start. I'll
Yeah,
start.
I was gonna say, Madeline, do you want to start? Because if you guys are new here, Madeline is more niched than I am at Social Savvy. We're really not super niche. Like people ask me like what our niche is. Typically, like DTC product brands, lifestyle brands is the type of clients that we work with. But again, that's a big sector in and of itself. And so, Madeline, you niche with the beauty industry and beauty pros. I know there's a couple of other clients with that as well. So, definitely want to hear your take on that before I chime in.
Yeah, so like Jessica said, so like right now I niche with beauty brands, beauty professionals, salons. It's funny because when I first niche, I was like, "Ooh, am I niching too like small?" If that makes sense, but no. I also let me also preface that I started when I first started similar to Jessica, like I was helping just small businesses in general, and I feel like my niche back then was brick and mortar, and I think that's also what made me go into the beauty industry. Because again, with salons, like, they have a brick and mortar, and I love that aspect, but yeah, with the industry that I'm working in, um, obviously, let's just use an example. So if I were to be working with multiple hair salons here in Charleston, I'd be competing against myself, essentially. So I do let clients know. So I will only take on like one hair salon, one lash extension artist, management client. So, like, I will only manage one specific industry at a time. But again, that could be multiple. So, like, nails, hair, like, you get what I'm saying? Like, one of each at a time. But there was a time where I wanna say in the beginning, I it took me a while to realize, like, I was competing with myself. When
Mhm,
I was back home in Indy and something came up like this, I was like, "Ooh, I really shouldn't be accepting more than one hair salon at a time because I'm literally competing with myself." Unless it's different neighborhoods though too. Like, it can kind of get tricky because it just depends on the situation. Like, I understand again, whoa, like, solar, what was it again? Solar energy?
I think so, yeah, yeah,
I'm like,
solar
that is
energy
niche.
companies.
That is
Yeah.
niche. Um, I've never dealt with that one before. But so in conclusion, I understand where he is coming from. With that being said, though, I would also go back and negotiate other things, depending on. I will always be your guys' hype woman to ask for a raise. I will
Mhm,
always be the one to tell you guys you're probably not paying your worth. Like,
mhm,
I think there's always room for
yeah,
more. And so I would, again, I don't know how much, like, what your guys' contract looks like, but I would use it as leverage to be like, okay, that's fine. But if I agree to this, then this is what else is gonna happen. Where it's like maybe an increase in pay.
mhm,
Um, I
yeah,
hope that helps. Like, I feel like I just went around in a lot of circles kind of, but I get the exclusivity thing
mhm, yeah.
and
It's
respect that.
Yeah, it's really important too, and I think this is again my opinion, unless you are currently running, like currently running, not planning on running, but currently running a very, very large marketing agency where you have so many resources. And the reason that I'm saying that I think you can really get away with this is if you have a really big team, right? Think of an agency model, different departments for different capacities. Then I could see the specialty, versus
Mhm.
working with just one. I could see the specialty in certain industries. You're still going to run into the same issue, like if you are like the hair salons in Charleston's a great example. If you're managing like, most of the hair salons in Charleston, and if even if they're in different neighborhoods, like Madeline said, or maybe they specialize in, different things, and there's probably some things that are slight differences, but for the most part, kind of thinking about like how someone would go about searching and finding a new, say they just moved to Charleston, okay, they need to find someone who can be entrusted with their hair. They're going to go through the same process of looking at all of your clients that you have as an agency. So you're definitely going to still run into that same issue. But I could really see a time and place in that sense where it could just work, where you have tons of resources, tons of creatives. You're kind of doing a lot of different things. And ultimately, it's like kind of thinking of the agency model, it's different teams almost working on different clients, if that makes sense, which I know most of us aren't. I would love to know if there's anyone here who does run a really big agency who's listening. That would be really cool. I think we need to do a poll where it's, are
Yeah.
you a solopreneur? Do you have like one teammate, like two, three, like a smaller agency, or are you, running a big one? I think that would be really cool to kind of gauge where we're at right now in our listenership. But anyway, all that to say, right now where most of us are at, I completely agree with Madeline. You definitely need to have that exclusivity with clients. So I think for me too, it's also sometimes subconsciously when I'm creating something, I know just the way my brain works. If I'm pulling in a trend or pulling in something for a client, say I work with client A and client B who are the same exact industry, maybe same town as well, I'm probably going to create it really similar for both of them, right? How am I going to offer them anything new?
No,
You can only iterate trends so much. So I feel like I'm capped right there in my own creativity if I'm not being exclusive to one client.
I can't tell you, this is a confession.
Mhm,
I will rinse and repeat some of my, like, Instagram story ideas because A, I know
mhm.
they work, B, they're fun, creative, and engaging, but I just a little laugh because I'm like, this is me copying myself," and I feel like there are some, like, you're really not supposed to copy yourself, but I'm just
Yeah.
like, I only have myself to be mad at, so I'm I'm gonna rinse and
Agreed.
repeat.
Agreed. And I think those stories, I think you can definitely do that. Like you said, like they can really work across different clients, different industries, and they do have such a short shelf life. I think that it can
Mhm.
definitely happen in that sense. And yeah, I really think that's a great thing that you can kind of do. So, yeah, I would definitely thinking about the offer from this client to be exclusive, and even if you're listening and you're like, "Okay, I want to offer this up." I think this is like a unique selling point, a USP
Mhm.
that a lot of us can have as social media managers that we're not going to work with all of the same, women's clothing boutiques in insert town here. We're going to be exclusive so we know that we're creating the best content for you and putting out the best work. And I completely agree 1010% with Madeline's point that you definitely need to have that show in your pricing. Because I
Mhm.
think the other thing too that I've been really thinking about is that, it goes without saying, like, we all need to raise our prices
Mhm.
at so many points. Guys, I have been sending out very scary, like, high proposals, and people are saying yes to them. And I don't know what's scarier, to be honest. Like, no, it's great when a client, like, says yes to you, but when they say yes to a bigger proposal, like, the imposter syndrome that, like, creeps in so fast that you're like, "Wait, you're still here? I didn't know you were still here." It will creep back in, but all that to say, there are so many agencies out there that are charging agencies, freelancers, service providers, could be one or many, who are charging so much money for so little work, little to no skills, and the quality is not there. So I think if you're pricing yourself higher, it's not to say, okay, I need to just have this really, really high price. It's to honestly like lock you in. And I think the same goes for the clients that you work with. Like get locked into that one industry that you can work with.
I also feel like solar energy engineers, they got some money. Like,
That yeah,
they
right.
just, like, I yeah, that's all I'm gonna say, where I'm just like, "Ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be curious." So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And to your point, Madeline, like how much competition
Mm,
is really out
mhm,
there. I mean, I know it exists, and I know this
yeah.
is not, like, our sector that we're experts with, but I think this is an easy yes to exclusivity. I think when you think about businesses that are more, like, abundant in different areas, like hair salons and boutiques and, brick and mortars and restaurants and bars, like, yeah, okay, that's a little bit harder. It definitely can be done and should be done to keep exclusive, but I think, yeah, I say go for it. That's our stamp of approval for
Mhm,
yeah,
mhm.
keep it
And please re
exclusive.
and please report back. Like, I'm actually, like, every water cooler segment, I, like, wish you guys would just slide into the DMs, but, like, this one, I'm
Mhm.
like, "No, please show yourself."
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
have to, but, like, I'm just so curious now.
Absolutely, and it's like a insert, Shark Tank montage,
Yeah.
like, "Where are they now?" It replays the, like, pitch from early 2000s, and then it's like, "Where are they now?" "Okay, we're $1,000,000 in sales, and our business has grown so much," like, yeah, I mean, we know we're giving great advice, we're we're not saying we're sharks, we're on our way to being there,
Oh my
but
gosh. That
but
would that would be a dream. Like, I've always the idea of becoming an investor, like,
Mhm.
for, like, other small bit yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I
Ugh,
agree. Okay, we should bank that into an
yes,
idea for something that we need to do. You guys heard it here
write it down.
first. Yeah. No, we need I think that would be so fun too to do, like, at least maybe we, like, almost do, like, some sort of, like, because that's trending right now. I know we didn't pull that for on our feed, but, it's like, "Hey, sharks, I'm looking for, X dollars for 10% equity in my business, and I promise to deliver XYZ." By the way, you guys, if you haven't seen that trend, just search, like, Shark
It's
Tank
so
on
I love it.
Instagram, on TikTok, and you'll see that, and that's a great content idea that you can take and use that for your clients this week. But it's so, so, so funny. So speaking of on our feed, since we didn't pull the Shark Tank trend, my feed has been full of something that I'd love to get your advice on it, Madeline, but I don't like this holiday. I
I
do not.
don't either. I don't either. Oh my gosh, I hate it. I hate it so much.
I do
I
not
hate it so much.
claim I do not claim this holiday, nor do I partake in any of these campaigns for my own clients, nor will I ever. That is the one thing I know. So my feed is full of April Fools campaigns. And you know what? I don't like it. The first reason I don't like April Fools, not to be super negative here with all the reasons I hate it, but I do hate it. I get fooled by everything, okay? I am probably the most which is so funny because if you really knew me to my core, I really shouldn't be this gullible, but I am. And so, for example, Ryan's office is in the Empire State Building, which, if you guys know him, that's like part of his personality. Like, we're watching a
Oh,
movie and it's New York City. Of course, there's a ESB like montage or panoramic or B roll. He's like, "Hey, I work there." We're like, "Okay, we get it."
that's so cool
So,
though.
it's just yeah, it is so funny, but of course, if we, have any friends or family who come, like, visit us, we're like, "Hey, like, do you wanna go, like, in the Empire State Building?" Like, you'll have to go in the offices, but, like, it is really cool. Like, it's a very, historical building. Anyway, they have a really cool social media team. They
Yes. Oh
like,
my gosh, yes.
they have such a cool social media team. They do so many cool things, it's just at Empire State Building on
Mhm.
socials, and so they posted that they were going to put a rainforest cafe at the top of Empire State Building. Now, why would I believe this? But I did. Maybe because of the way, like, Ryan delivered it to me, because I'm like, "Okay, he works there, he knows, like, he's in on, like, all the things happening," and he's like, "Hey, like, they're putting a rainforest cafe at the top of Empire State Building." If you guys haven't been to a rainforest cafe, it's very, like, animated animals and,
Oh my
like,
gosh, yeah.
it's a rainforest inside. I really have 0 other words to describe it, but it's pretty self-explanatory, and it doesn't make sense why that would be the place, but anyway, so he tells me that, and I'm like, "You know what? I could see that happening." And then he's like, "Oh, no, that's April Fool's. That's not actually happening." And then there's just so many other brands that do something that I just have to talk about. Like, all of our favorite brands that we love, right? Um, they I have a list of them,
Olipop,
like
like, Olipop did the one with Pringles.
yes.
Um I
Yeah.
love the article that you linked, I didn't see this one, but and here's the other thing why I also hate this trend, because sometimes I'm like, "No, like, you should actually make this a thing, like, this is
Mhm.
actually really clever," and I would buy it. So, like, Jif did, like, the, peanut butter butter, so it'd be, like, the peanut
Mhm.
butter in butter form, and I was
Yeah.
like, No, like, I would actually
No.
probably buy that because it'd be so much easier
Yeah.
and less messy to spread my peanut butter on toast.
Yeah. Agreed. I do love that one. So yeah, there was that. There was Grillo pickles with
Mm,
Califia Farms, which is like, okay, I didn't
mhm.
know we need a pickle creamer. But, people who love pickles, they love pickles. So many other random ones. Duncan did one that actually
Yes.
I don't know if I hated this one. It was kind of like, "Oh, haha." I felt like it was an afterthought, and whoever thought of it on the team probably thought it was so funny. So I just love that, just knowing that they were like, "This is gold." So, Dunkin' Donuts used to be the name of the company. It's now Dunkin'. They've dropped the donuts. For April Fools, their campaign said, "We've changed our name. We're going through some things. We're now called Donuts," which is just funny. It's a play on, kind of the different like PR moves that the company has made. One thing that I think would be really cool for brands to do later in the year, like, launch these things. Collab.
That's
Launch these April Fool's campaigns, and I guarantee it would do so well because people will be like, "Wait a minute. I remember that. Why do I remember that? Like,
mhm.
why am I, like, thinking of, like, a Pringle, like, Olipop? Like, something's, sour cream and onion Pringle for that sake?" But I think a collab like this would just be so cool. Do a limited edition, and it kind of, like, brings me back to, like, like, early 2000s when brands did more of these weird collabs with each
Mhm,
other. I'm
mhm.
trying to think of a couple off the top of my head, but, growing up, like, I felt like we always were marketed crazy products, like crazy snacks and cereals, and then they were, like, collabing with each other, and it was like the moment. I think that should happen in
Mhm.
2024 with April Fool's Day campaigns, and then I'll get behind them.
No, and there were so many collaborations this year, like, so many,
Mhm.
so many. But I love that you also hate this because I do too, and Brennan asked me he asked me later in the day, like, once he got home, he's like, "Did you do any" like, he asked me, "Did I do any April Fool's content with clients?" And I was like, "No. No,"
Mhm.
because to me, I have yet to have a client who obviously, I know I hold the power at the end of the day, but, like, it's not their humor. Like, it's not
Mhm.
like because and here's the I feel like humor in general, there's so many different types of humor, and, like, April Fools is just a very specific type of humor, like the jokester kind of thing, and just, like, that is not any of my clients' type of humor,
Yeah.
nor mine per se. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, I love like, I'll laugh at, like, American home videos, like, people, like, jumping out, like, I like, prankster like that, but I don't know what it is, like, about these where I think to me too, I'm like, "Why?" That probably
Mhm.
took you so much that maybe that's
Mhm.
me being a lazy social media manager too, though, where I'm just like, "Oh, no, I don't have the energy to, like, for one no."
Yeah. Agreed.
There
Agreed.
was so but seriously, so many collaborations that I was, like, blown
Yeah.
away
No,
by.
I was shocked by that, and you know what's one thing that really makes me mad about April Fool's Day campaigns?
What?
They never disclose.
Yes.
Okay? Like, if we have to disclose when things are sponsored and ads, I think we should disclose April Fool's Day because the amount of times, like, I read through these posts and I'm like reading through their caption, I'm reading through the comments, and I'm like, okay, no, it's a joke because it's April 1st, so I'm not taking anything literally
Right.
today. But at the same time, I feel like we should disclose. And so that's for that reason, since we're not disclosing, I really think a lot of these collaborations in April Fools should come to fruition. I think that they would be great marketing moves for these brands, and I think they should just do it.
The last thing I will say too is, like, so the ones that will link in Social Club, they all like, to me, that fits the brands. Like, it fits the brands that the ones that I saw, I'm like, "Okay," because
Mhm.
to me, I'm like, you have to look at the whole picture of their social media accounts too, where it's like they have fun with it. Like they're not necessarily aesthetically pleasing type of accounts. Well, there are some aesthetically pleasing accounts that I follow and brands that are on the spectrum of luxury. The second I see luxury companies partaking in April Fools, I'm like, no. Nope, nope,
Yep.
nope. That was,
100% agree.
I don't like it. I'm like, "Ooh, I
Yep.
just got the ick. I just
You
got the
just
ick."
They just dilute their whole
Yes!
branding. And for what? For what?
One day,
Yeah.
and it wasn't even that funny. It wasn't e so, like, there's one, and it's, a headband company. I'm not gonna ca like, I do love her. Like, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
call it out. If you follow me enough, you'll, like, put 2 and 2 together eventually. But it's this headband company, and it's like, these are bougie, like, expensive headbands, and
Mhm.
they did one, and it was, like, essentially, like, this headband where it's like, oh, it had extension I don't know, it's cringe. It is
Mhm.
cringe, and I was just like, "No."
Yeah. Yeah, I agree, I don't like that, and I think if you're selling a luxury good or a luxury service, definitely
No.
not doing like a lot of big brands like, Pringles and Dunkin' and Kraft was one, they did like a Fruity
Mhm.
Pebbles macaroni and cheese, and I'm just like, I can't think about that, like,
No.
please sometimes they come up with the craziest things, and I'm like, "No." I mean, I get it, like, there's already so many crazy Kraft macaroni and cheese
Yeah.
flavors that, like, you have to pull from something absolutely out there. One thing that I think, again, taking the collaboration, in real life would just be so cool for a lot of these brands. I think a lot of brands miss the mark on that. They're focused on like other ways to like collab and grow and all of that. And I think you could really do this. But one thing that I think could be really cool for April Fools, and again, it's really not an April Fools because I'm thinking about it in the sense of how I don't like April Fools Day. But hear me out, crazy thought, do a little bit of like social listening for your business. Turn something that people are like asking for,
Mm,
or take some constructive criticism that a brand is like, or customers or clients have given your brand. Turn that into a campaign, a new product, a new service, something you're offering, and actually offer it. Again, that's probably like not even April Fools, but that's how I like would want to see April Fools Day from here on out. Just taking it and turning it into something that actually people want is
yeah.
going to go the long way. Because again, to Madeline's point about the humor, a lot of clients don't have that same humor, and I think a lot of brands, I mean, I think you have to have a brand that has a lot of like social equity to be able to pull this kind of April Fool's maneuver on your audience. And I think not a lot of brands are there. Now,
Mhm.
maybe one might be, but I think that's kind of super, super rare. So just
I have
yeah.
that actually helps me transition into mine because I think there
Ooh,
is
okay.
one company who does do that, and it's
Mhm.
Target. And for those of you guys who don't know, Target's bringing back Target Lady,
Mhm.
aka Kristen Wiig's character, and it's starting today. Like, oh, I am pumped. If you're an
Mhm.
SNL Kristen Wiig fan,
Yeah.
they're bringing. I don't think. Speaking of April Fools, I don't think they Target did an April Fools. I'd have to look, but
Yeah.
um, I'm pumped. So the reason why they're bringing or like they're bringing this segment back is because they're revamping their loyalty program with its first
Mhm.
ever Target Circle Week starting this starting today. And I'm excited because from what I've read, just already on the feed, like on Target's feed, like they've been teasing it. And you just know there's gonna be good like there I feel
Mhm.
like there's a whole skit, like the
Mhm.
entire month of April, we're gonna see Kristen and I'm excited.
I'm
Like,
here for it. Yeah. Oh, I'm here
yes.
for that. Yeah, I love that. I think that's a great way to, like, bring back things that people want.
Yes.
And I think sometimes, I do think that saying should be taken with a grain of salt because I do think there are very rare instances where certain clients that we work with will have their own clientele or customer base who sometimes maybe are missing the mark, that the very old school like marketing phrase that the customer is always right is not always 100% accurate depending on the specific business and instance. But just listening and knowing what people want, like not to bring it back up, I think we talked about this last week even. Yeah, I think it was on your feed. Madeline is like, McDonald's does not listen when we ask for the snack wraps, and we've asked for years, and so I really need someone on McDonald's team to hear this and just, like, bring it up the chain of command to someone because, I mean, talk about something that has been, like, around and, like, people talk about it all the time. Like, go
Oh,
see McDonald's launches a new thing, read the comments. There's 100 of people saying, "Where's the snack wrap?" Like, "You can do this, but where's the snack wrap?" Like, I just think sometimes brands just don't listen, and then to think about, like, think about McDonald's competitor, look at us, we're like fast food, like, commentators, but love it. But look at, like, Burger King, right? They're McDonald's biggest competitor. Like, did you guys know they launched snack wraps? They obviously don't call them the snack wrap,
no?
but they launched them, like, a couple of, like, weeks or maybe a couple months ago, but I recently saw them. Now, I personally don't like, I'm a McDonald's girly,
I
like,
mean,
through and
same,
through,
same.
but hey, like, McDonald's is not getting the message about the snack wraps, so, like, I don't know, might be inclined to try it and see if it's equivalent. But anyway, that's on
Yes.
social listening.
Oh, yeah. I'm processing because now I'm like, "Ooh, I feel like I should I need to go get one to, like, do blind taste testing."
Mhm. Yeah, okay,
And
great. Now I'm, like, craving now I'm craving this, like, snack wrap. I haven't even had it, but I'm craving the snack wrap, the
yes.
OG, like,
But okay, but I have one other thing on my feed that
Mhm.
I want to discuss before we get into this week's topic, and that is Sabrina Carpenter and the Skims collaboration. I'm not mad about it. Like, it is so on brand for her,
Mhm.
especially with her her tour outfit, like her Eras tour outfits.
Mhm.
However, I'm like, what is going on with Taylor's besties and sleeping with what I thought is our enemy?
Mhm.
Like, I'm like, but I can't, like, also, if you guys know me, like, I do, like, Tay Tay is up here, like, she forever and always, but, like, yes, a guilty pleasure is I will watch Keeping Up with the Kardashians, like, I do.
Mhm.
I know, but and that's the other thing, I will always say, like, Kim and honestly, the Kardashians, especially Kris in general, like, you don't have to like them, I know that they can be cringe, but, like, you
Mhm.
cannot tell me they're not genius marketing business ladies, like, you
Mhm.
cannot convince me otherwise, and so I just need to know what's going on in Kimmy's head where I'm like, "What are you doing? You are up
Mhm.
to something." And also, some of the images of Sabrina's stuff where I'm like, there's this really random pink nail polish. Like, it is in the most like, again, maybe that's the Swiftie in me looking, like,
Mhm.
searching for Easter eggs, but I'm like, "This is just weird." Like, it's weird. Like, something's not adding up.
Yeah, but, I mean, think about how the Kardashian-Jenner clan think, like, I just feel like well, it's interesting, right? Because it's, like, for Skims, like, Sabrina Carpenter, which I love the campaign, I think it's great. I love Skims personally, I think it's a really
Mhm.
cool
Same.
brand, like, even completely if it was completely detached from Kim Kardashian, like,
Mm.
love it.
Genius, seriously, genius, like, on her part, like, again, where how Skims was even born, like,
Yep,
again, Kim saw, like, was taking duct tape for some of her dresses, like, again,
yep,
genius. She saw there was a missing market. There was a
yeah.
missing market.
Yeah, and yeah, absolutely created it, and so I think, obviously, like, Skims is, like, Kim's brand, and I think it to be said, like, they're all serial entrepreneurs, but,
Mhm.
like, when you look at the, like, longevity of the Skims brand and just how big it is, I think it's really interesting how like, I almost wonder, like, if it's going to, like I think it's either one of 2 things. Either it's outgrowing like Kim Kardashian and, like, Kim's personal brand,
Mhm.
like and that could be, like, her, like, long-term goal, right? They're all businesswomen, they're all gonna get their back for what they're doing, so that goes without being said, but I also wonder too, like, the Kardashian influence is not what it was in years prior, and I think that's something to be said just in how influencing has evolved. And I think just the influencer industry, like, to me, that's so interesting to look at. Like, it's not as big as it once was, you know? Like, even thinking about, like, obviously different with her brands, but like thinking about Kylie Jenner and the brands that
Oh,
she's created. I mean, like, I feel like we could do like a full deep dive on all of their brands, like past, present, future. And there's just, yeah, there would be so many
there's
topics for for that alone.
writing that one down because yes, and I never even thought about it in that way, but I like what you just said where it's like, yeah, I could see Skims outgrowing Kim, and because like now that I think about it, like she really is, I feel like she's trying to be more of the investor now. Like she
Mhm.
literally just invested or maybe owns Truff or what is it? It's like the really bougie hot sauces. Truffle? Is that what it
Oh,
is?
oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
She
I know it, yeah.
I think she's either an investor or like has a lot of because it was like
Oh,
on
interesting.
last season of Keeping Up with the Kardashians. But to like I feel like again, if you're not aware or keep up with the Kardashians, like that was kind of like her plot line in last season where it's like her like going to these type of meetings and like really wanting to be taken seriously by these men, like like
Mhm.
men investors, and
Yeah,
she is smart, like she is smart.
yeah, yeah. I feel like I think it's so interesting, like, how like, well, okay, so with Skims, like, Sabrina Carpenter, like, Brittany Mahomes, a couple months back,
Lana
did
Del Rey.
yeah, Lana Del Rey, like, it's interesting. Like, I don't know, I'm kind of, like, on the sideline, like, with my popcorn, like, what is going to happen? Like,
No, same.
I'm here for it. Yeah.
Same. And again, come April 19th, who
Mhm.
knows?
Yeah.
Who knows what we're going to be listening to? Oh gosh.
Agreed. Yeah. No, I agree. I think it's interesting. Also, this is not even like remotely related, but did we talk about Cowboy Carter?
No, no, and I'm so glad you're bringing this up. Okay, you go first. You go
Okay.
first.
Um yeah, this is not a new segment, but it should be. We could like review music. I think we could definitely do that. I'm obsessed with it. Like I every well, so, like, I guess too, like, I love country music, I love Beyoncé, but to be honest, I really like all music genres. Like, my Spotify is the biggest hodgepodge of things, you know, I'm, like, in, like, my Taylor era, I'm listening to country, I'm listening to, like, different eras of country music. Like,
Mhm.
there's no just one way I'm listening to it, you know, I'm listening to, like, Beyoncé, when I work out, I listen to, like, rap and hip hop. I also listen to rock when I work out. Like, I also really like oldies, like classic rock.
Mhm.
Like, I like a lot of music. But anyway, all that to say, I really love the album. I feel like I go through like stages where like, I feel like I need to keep listening to it more because I haven't really found like, okay, this is like my go-to song for this, or this is like my favorite song here. Like, I don't know. I feel like I like to listen and then I like keep listening and listening. And anyway, I love it. I thought it was great. I loved all of the different like collabs that she had,
Oh my
all of
god.
the artists who were on, I thought was so great. And like to me, it's a great country album. I love that she's in country. Like doing her own it's Beyoncé's voice, but in
Well,
country
and
music.
because she even said, like, where it's like a lot of critics where she, like, I think, don't quote me on this, but like, I think in an interview, she even said, she's like, this isn't a country album. This is a Beyonce album. Because, like,
Mhm,
again, where I feel like this is very Easter egg coded, like, because on my, this is on my TikTok feed right now. It's like so many people, like, saying their first reactions, and like, a lot
mhm,
of people kind of, not honestly, like maybe bickering back and forth where it's like again this one creator she was like this one creator was like kind of shitting on it, and then this other
mhm,
creator was like this is the type of album, like, again, you need to listen to it more than once and, like,
Yeah.
really dive in, like, where it's like, somebody was saying, like, because Blackbird is one of my favorite songs. It's one of my favorite Beatles songs of all time.
Mhm.
I love her version of it, and just, like, the meaning and, like, history behind Blackbird, like,
Mhm.
that song, and then, like, for her to be working with Nelly or, Dolly Parton, what is it? Nelly, right? Not Nelly. Willie.
Willie Nelson. Yeah.
Willie. I was like, why
Right,
did I
yeah.
say Nelly? But like again, and Yaya is one of my favorites too. Like her take on like these boots are
Mhm.
made for walking. I was just like this again. I wish I would have like blind reacted to that one because I
Right.
was just like, oh,
Yeah.
oh, okay. And then I love her version. Honestly, I really do like her version of Jolie. Like again, I
Yeah.
feel like she's getting a lot of like people aren't don't really like that, and I was just like, but I
But
like it.
I feel like it did it, like, it was great that it was her version, and, like, it really was, like, Beyoncé's version of Jolene, which Jolene's like, the song in and of itself, one of the greatest songs, like, I would put it up at that level. Like, I really think Beyoncé's version as well, really, really great. Like, a really great song. I mean, the lyrics, like, I mean, it's so I literally added it to, like, my workout cue because it's, like,
Yep.
such a good, like, a
No,
pump up song.
I worked out this morning and it's called The Works here in Charleston, and like it's yoga, but like you are dripping, but the instructor has it's like her Beyonce put like this was what we were like
I love
sweating to. Okay, and then my other favorites from it is Levi's jeans, where I was like, oh
Mhm.
my god, Posty. I was
Yeah, which I'm
oh
looking forward to Post Malone's album
that,
as well.
and again, where it's like that I think is the start of Taylor's for next album, and I'm like, oh my god.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I love Daughter too, like where it's just like or not Daughter. I do like Daughter, but now I can't remember which one. But like I feel like it's like a love letter to her kids, almost where I'll be your protector, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree.
So
Yeah,
and
and
that is that's like our take on Cowboy Carter.
yeah. No, I love that. Because 'cause I'm like, I don't think we talked about that because I think it, like yeah, I think it, like what did it drop, like, on, like, a Thursday or Friday? So it would have been,
Mhm.
like, probably, like, right after we recorded, and then, so much time has passed since, so,
I
yeah.
should have prefaced that's, like, what we were listening to this weekend while we were cooking and I was making my
Mhm.
strawberry basil margaritas, like, that
Yeah.
was the soundtrack of the weekend.
I love that. I love that. Yeah, no, it's such a good album, so if you guys haven't listened to it, definitely listen, and we'd love to know what is your favorite song or songs. There can be multiple, and also would love to hear your opinion. I think it's great to have, like, I think that's what's great about music, right? It's art in
Mhm.
the long run, and so everyone interprets songs in different ways, and everyone listens to albums in different ways, so I like that too. Like, I know there's people who will go down and they'll listen to, like, each track, and then there's people who jump around. I'm sorry, I jumped around because I just got so excited, like, I was like I was like, "Wait, no, I'm gonna go here, here, and here," but no, I thought it was a good album, so definitely excited for kind of the doors that I think it's opening with a
Yes.
couple of artists, so I think it's gonna be really exciting for that. Okay, let's dive into this week's topic. If you saw the title of this podcast episode, we wanted to talk about marketing to different target audiences. As we talk a lot about niching down as a social media manager and figuring out what type of clients you want to work with, that might involve marketing to a target audience that you have no idea about. And I think one thing for me that always made me feel confident in, I guess, my abilities as a social media manager were really the first, like, internships and jobs that I held in marketing. They were in PR and marketing and social media. And so I really got by working in these agencies, I worked with a ton of random brands. And my first actually great, we talked about Cowboy Carter. My first internship was a PR and social media internship for, like, an indie music label. And I learned so much about like getting out of your comfort zone as a social media manager and managing communities and creating content and writing copy and really like embodying other like voices, which I think is what we do as social media managers oftentimes. And a lot of times it comes down to understanding like who we're marketing to. So I might not understand like specifically like the the industry or like what they're selling. Like for example, like back to our water cooler. I could probably tell you zero things about solar energy. Like I should probably know more about it, but I don't know really anything. And so that's one thing that I can't think about like that from that standpoint. But what I can think about, and again, I know there's probably different sectors, so I don't know specifically this this company does, but let's say for example, they sell like residential solar energy. So when I think of that, I think of, a couple years ago, my parents in Florida put solar panels on their house. So, I think about all the reasons why they said yes to putting this on their house. Like, they wanted to save money on their electric bill. Like we live in Florida, there's sunshine like all the time. It happens. It kind of cuts down on cost. We live in a hurricane prone area. So when hurricanes come through, power's out, you have your own power source, which is huge just if you live in a state like that. And so when I think about all those different things that, my parents went through for that, like what they wanted, what they desired, why they were so over kind of the traditional way, the non-solar way, that's where I can really kind of think about it from that standpoint. So I think when you're thinking about, kind of bringing it back to when you're thinking about, well, how do I create content for my new client A or my new client B? I think a lot of times it's not really like, how do you create content for that client? It's like, how do you create content for that audience? If that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. That's wow. How do I follow up with that? Like that's really good advice. Like I don't know if I have anything to add to like I know like I'm up, we're just done. We're done
Yes.
recording. No.
Okay, that's it.
No, but that is I think a lot of chatter I've been seeing on social media right now too is just remembering that you're marketing to the target audience. Like it doesn't matter. How do I want to say this? Like you can't think like the owner or the CEO of like the solar
Mhm,
energy company. Like they made this product to solve your parents' pain points. And I don't know. I feel like sometimes when I'm even like that's oftentimes even with salon owners, like I have to remind them where it's just like, let's say they're in their 50s, but the majority of people who are sitting in their chair are 20 to 30, where I'm
mhm,
like, that's never happened to me. Like normally the
mhm.
salon, but
Yeah, like closer in
I
age.
definitely think that that does happen some places in the world, where it's just like
Mhm,
how you market to them and
mhm.
I think it comes back to platforms even too, where this is something, sorry if like I hope I'm like staying on track here talking about like the target markets, but this is
Yeah.
something I feel like Jessica and I've always kind of seen eye to eye on. And I feel like we both have said this on the podcast before, where we've always been social media marketers who no, we're not going to tell you that you need to be on every single social media platform, but I will not argue, but I'll challenge clients and be like, okay, but what platforms are you on? And when they come back and they tell me, what they've been on, like, yeah, they're on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. I'm like, it's how often are you on that platform? How often are you on YouTube? Brennan's again, I think male versus female marketing, oh my goodness, that is
Mhm.
completely different too, because like
Yeah.
he is not on Facebook, he's not on Instagram, he is on YouTube though. And so when I first met and he told me, he's like, yeah, I'm not a big social media person. And then as I'm starting to date him and like observe his YouTube, I'm like, that's funny. You're cute. I'm like, no, that is a social media platform
Mhm.
because he will go deep into
Yeah.
the comment section, deep.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
I'm like, you, so I'd be like, tell me, how is this not social media?
Right.
And like Reddit, like, I
Oh,
don't think
yeah.
I don't know if he really gets on Reddit as much anymore, but like if I had to pick, like YouTube and Reddit would be probably his top two.
Mhm.
And honestly, Pinterest would be there at the top because he's the cook.
Yeah.
Like we both cook, but he will that's where he finds recipes.
Yeah.
And okay, this is kind
Mhm.
of related, kind of not, but I feel the need to share this.
Mhm.
So recently I was talking to my boutique client and I don't think she listens, but even if she does, she know like this is something we've
Mhm.
talked about, so I'm just repeating myself. But she really wants to get a lot of more Google reviews. And I'm like,
Mhm.
that's fair. That's fine. Great for SEO and all that stuff. Yes. But I've also challenged her where I was like, I want to see more like real and TikTok reviews where, the 40 plus are more like, because so the best way to put this into perspective for clients is, again, we're bringing it back to the beauty industry because it's like I asked her where it's like, where did you find your hairstylist? Obviously, she's local, like word of mouth. Word of mouth, we've
Mhm.
established is always going to be number one. But for millennials to Gen Z to the alpha generation, like it's Instagram. That is the first place. Like I'm not going and googling Charleston hairstylist. I'm literally going to their Instagram because I want to see their work right away.
Mhm.
And if you
Yep.
majority of hair, nail, all beauty professionals, their websites aren't not the best. I love you all who are listening. I do. But like I
Mhm.
think you all would agree with me that you spend more of your time and energy on your social platforms like Instagram because
Mhm.
you're showcasing your work.
Yeah.
And so I feel like on TikTok, like that, like TikTok, like is very local. Like
Mhm.
Jessica's coming to visit Charleston. Jessica and Harmony both have been telling me for the past few
Mhm.
weeks, like Charleston is all of their TikTok feed. So
Mhm.
obviously they're listening.
Yeah.
You already know this.
They're listening
But
loud and clear. Yep. They're like,
yes,
"Oh, you should go here when you're there next week."
yes, but and what I will never forget when I moved down here too, and I will still see like estheticians and all this stuff. So where I'm going with that is I just got a facial yesterday and I was this talking about what we're discussing right now to with my esthetician. I was like, I'm going to make you a reel where it's a review because I was like, I'm gonna be curious, and she's so sweet. She's like, I'll give you a code, and I'm like, okay, like cool, because like she is my guinea pig too, where it's like I am kind of curious, like
Mhm.
not saying I'm like the influencer, but like I'm gonna be curious to see
Yeah.
if she gets where somebody's like, oh, I found you because of this video
Mhm.
versus a Google review. So,
Yeah.
like, where I'm going with that, again, it comes back to your target market, how your target market is even finding you.
Yeah.
Where is it Google, like knowing those type of habits, even?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And I have a really good example, I think, to hopefully it's good, but a really good example to end us on with this because when I think about one of my first ever clients that I started working with for Social Savvy, I can't remember exactly how. I think she might have actually like found me through Google. Again, it was probably back in my like one page simple website days. So guys, you
Yeah.
don't need anything super crazy. Just have something, have that information. But anyway, she reached out and she owned a boutique in a college town. And so other really than the college, there's really nothing else. A lot of college towns across the US, that's really all that's there. There's not really too much else. Maybe there's a really cute downtown, some cool spots to shop and eat and drink and all of that, but it's a college town and most people come from out of town to attend. And so she was older and she was in that town for the longest time, but didn't really have a great like social media presence. And so she's a boutique. She doesn't have an online store, which I worked with her in 2019. So you can imagine in 2020 what I was really stressing we got. And so anyway, I can get to that, but didn't have an online store, just had Instagram, but she was a really great boutique buyer. Like I know certain boutiques have different styles, and so she really understood her audience, her customers, in the sense of what they're buying. And so, great businesswoman in that sense that she knew 80% of her customers were these college age girls who would come in. They need the going out top. They need, cute brunch outfit. They need, it's a football game. Like, okay, we need game day attire. Like, she knew how to buy for them. She knew how to buy for their date nights when they would have different events for, sororities, fraternities. Like, she knew how to buy and she knew that so well. And I was like, perfect. Like I like loved kind of learning from her sense of like how she ran that side of her business. So that was interesting. The other 20% of her business are like older women who live in that town who've maybe lived there for like generations and they have wealth. And so they come in and they want to drop money. They're like, I
Mhm.
trust you. You know my style. You know my body type. Like, I'm going to this, and that. Like, my budget is a couple hundred to maybe $1,000. Like, this is what I want to buy. And she picks out all the outfits, curates it for them. They try them on. They love everything. They walk out. And again, it's always that, that 80/20 is always so true in business. And
Mhm.
so when it came to, her reaching out to me to hire for social media, Instagram and Facebook were the two big platforms. And I think for starting out with a client who has no social platforms, I personally love to like ease into a project, get super duper established, and then add on a platform. Like, that's
Mhm.
honestly just kind of my style. Even now, like, with the team that we have, I still like to do that. I just feel so much more confident if I can nail one platform and, like, figure out through their, like, customer or client journey, like, what makes the most sense for the next platform or platforms. So, anyway, when she's telling me how she wants to market to her people, she's telling me that she wants to market to the 20% who wait, am I saying that right? Yes. To the 20%
Like
of her audience. So it's 20% of her audience make up, like, 80% of her income. Does that make sense? And then the
yeah,
other
yeah.
yeah. So she wants to market to the older audience,
Mhm.
which respectfully, they're not on Instagram. They're on Facebook. I mean, they're on Instagram, but they're not using it in the
Mm.
way
Mhm.
that Instagram can be used. And so again, this was 2018, 2019, and then even going into 2020. And so long story short, it all comes down to, kind of letting her know like you know how to buy for your people, and you told me like you're buying for their game days, for their date nights, like for all of the different things that are going on in their life. Like that is our social media strategy, like leaning into again college town, all of those big events that are happening, the different sororities, what they're wearing, what they need. There's a lot of like concerts that were always coming into town, so of course people are like curating outfits for the concerts. So when it comes down to that, like the 20% of the audience who's older, like they can go over to Instagram and see all of this content and they'll see something, right? Like they might not relate to a game day or a date night outfit, but they can pull in something else that, is more like Sunday brunch or, anything like that that's more fitting to kind of the style that they have. So anyway, you can market to one person that's the target audience that you're trying to attract. With to Madeline's point, like think about how they use that platform. And I think that goes without saying that you don't really detract other people. Like I think you do a better job of like magnifying who you're marketing to, because if you think about it, for those college age girls who are trying to find something, and again, this is a town that does not have competition. So you really only have to be like 1% better on Instagram to reach those girls, to be able to, so they know like, okay, I can come order from here. This is the boutique that I want to shop at, versus the competition, which is, it's online. It's Princess Polly. It's all of these other like
Mhm.
sites that they're gonna like get like shipped to them, like e-commerce. So just one thing to kind of think about there, like think about the audience in particular. And so that's one thing that I'll try to do like when I'm onboarding a client, is I just really want to understand everything they know about their audience. And I'd love to know too, last question I will ask you, Madeline, before we jump off. Um, Do you find that sometimes clients don't really know so much about their target audience? Because I find that out so much. I feel like I really help them through that process.
Yes, and what I've come across too is they think they know who their audience is, but then when we look at the data, it
Mhm.
is completely different.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where it's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
again, where it's like they started their business with that in mind, and, like, to me, I'm like, that can still be your audience, but if that's who you want your audience to be, then again, it comes back to, like you said, like, the messaging, like, where you are and
Mhm.
how yeah, how you and I like what you said too, because I agree with that too, where it's like, so, like, your Instagram and Facebook and then slowly adding on the platforms. Like, I always just tell clients, though, in the beginning, though, where I'm just like, just know that they are on more than what you're giving them credit for.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. I think that's the one thing, and I think I talked about this maybe in a couple episodes ago. Just really the last point that I will say is that my favorite, I think maybe I talked about this at the end of last week's episode, but really the only reason I love to use ChatGPT is to help me understand the audience more in terms of like what can I understand about them? But I don't think I said this last week, but one thing I like to do is I like to have ChatGPT give me questions. Give
mm,
me questions that I can ask my client to understand more about their audience to the point that Madeline made if they don't know who it is or they say it's this and the data is like, no, it's not. It's like, okay, now we can really start to build out that like ideal client, ideal customer, ideal follower avatar and figure out like how we can really create content for them. And really that's the number one way to I think so many people are always asking, well, what do I post? How do I put together a content calendar? Can I have some content ideas? I need some prompts. Like, if you think about your audience, you will fill up that calendar in no time. Like, it will snap your fingers and it's full when you just think about who that audience is.
mhm, yep, yeah,
Yeah. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to another week of Hashtag Managed. Like we said, we have some fun things happening this week, IRL, when we are meeting for the first time ever. So, of course, we'll bring you guys along for that ride. But before we sign off, just want to remind you if you made it this far, we would absolutely love if you could leave a review of the podcast. If you love listening to us every week, we read all the reviews and it means the world. We would love to hear from you if you want to do we talked about video reviews, but if you want to do an audio review, you can leave on hashtagmanage.com. You can click on hashtag hotline and leave a quick voicemail. There's no right or wrong way for you to leave that voicemail. We would love to hear from you, a review, or ask a question, give a confession, share something for the water cooler. We would absolutely love to hear from you. And last but certainly not least, click the link in our show notes or go to hashtagmanage.com to join the Social Club newsletter. Thank you guys so much for listening and definitely tune in next week because we are doing our in person recording of this podcast. So I have a feeling it's just going to be extra special.
yes. Bye, guys.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you haven't already, hit that follow button, and if you really love us, be sure to subscribe wherever you are listening from.
And if you want to be one of our online besties, you can shoot us a DM over at hashtag managed on Instagram and let us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode. Or, you could also share all your deepest, darkest secrets. Kidding. But we mean it when we say you can shoot us a DM. We love building real, authentic relationships with you.